everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back for video number 2. So in this video we're going to discuss my Crohn's journey and kind of how I got diagnosed and how everything went down. It was traumatic, it was a lot, it was some WTF moments. So get your tissue, I got mine right here, and let's get into it. So, like I told you in the previous video, I was diagnosed in 2004. November 18th, 2004 to be exact. But the story starts way before that, like months before that. I was a junior in high school, and it was, of course, right after school had started and flu season hit. And for some reason, flu season was real, she got a real bad attitude about her, and everybody got sick. All my friends, all our little friend group, everybody got sick, and I was the last one. So I get sick, I have my regular flu symptoms, I'm home for a few days, only I never quite got all the way better. Like, the flu went away, but I still felt like crap. Following me? You with me? Okay, so I just wasn't feeling well. Like, I was feeling kind of sluggish, and but I was still going to school. I was still going to work. At the time I worked at McDonald's. I was still doing stuff. I was still trying to live my best life. And then I noticed that every time I ate, my stomach would hurt. And it wasn't like a regular hurt. Like, I would be in pain, but I'm also not a person that complains a lot. So it was just kind of like, this is odd. But it wasn't like alarming. At least not in the beginning. It was just like, okay, well, maybe I'm allergic to something, or I don't know. Maybe this is just like some aftershocks of me having the flu. So that continued, and it eventually got worse, and I was starting to lose weight. So at that point, my mom made an appointment. She took me to the doctor, and they were just kind of like, she's stressed out, ran some blood work, she's fine. I'm like, yeah, but I'm really not though. Like, I'm not fine. And they gave me some pill to take before I ate. I have to ask my mom if she remembered what that pill was. So I went back to school, got my little pills in my pocket, just looking, trying to break. It was one of those itty bitty pills, so I'm trying to break it. It was just a lot happening. But again, I'm still getting sicker. Now my joints are hurting. It's hurting for me to like sit, stand. And at this point, I've started to like sleep a lot. I didn't really want to go to school. And again, like, I'm not a kid who complains a lot. So I started to like almost like cry all the time. So back to the doctor we go. And then they tell my parents, oh, she's just stressed out. She's probably just anorexic, so just make her eat. And if you have IBD, or if you know anyone with IBD, trying to force them to eat when they physically can't is literally like telling them to swallow a bed of nails. So that was a battle. On one hand, my parents are like, yeah, she's not anorexic, but we do probably need to ask her if she's anorexic. And I was highly offended. Like, no, I really like food. Me and food have a really good relationship. So we went on with that. Eventually, my mom told me I had to quit my job, because in the midst of all of this, I was still trying to go to work because the girl was about her point. So fast forward, in the process of all of this, we were moving. My parents had bought a new house, and we were moving. So we had to pack up my room and move into our new house. And again, I'm getting sicker and sicker. Like now there's like blood in my stools. There's like, at this point I probably had just stopped moving. Like I was becoming one with our couch, or I would sleep at the bottom of my parents' bed. But still, trugging on, I was still trying to be everything and do everything and just be normal. Halloween came, and I remember taking my siblings and my little cousin trick-or-treating, and the whole time I just remember thinking, I'm gonna pass out. I remember going to a house, and their house was like on an incline, and I was just like, I'm not gonna make it up that hill. Luckily, like there was a few like scarier houses, and my youngest sister is not with the nonsense. She was like, yeah, we can go home now. So I'm like, okay, great. We go home. I made it through Halloween. Fast forward, now we have homecoming. At first, my mom was very like, yeah, you're not doing that. We're not doing that. You don't feel good. And I'm like begging and pleading, like, please just let me go. Like I remember going to the mall, and then I remember all of a sudden really having to go to the bathroom, and I remember just sitting in the stall like, this cannot be my real life, and like, am I about to die? But nevertheless, I put on my big girl drawers and persisted. A homecoming is a blur. I don't really remember it. I just remember I took some pictures, came home, put the pictures on the counter, and then I've never seen those pictures again. I don't think my mom liked them, so I don't think I've ever seen them again. I just remember her telling me, like, you look like you're so small, like you don't even look like yourself. I've never seen those pictures again. I don't know what she did with them. So my birthday is November 15th. So again, I'm like really sick. So my parents are trying to figure out, like, I don't know. It was kind of like they were like, let's see how bad it is, kind of thing. So I hadn't really been going to school because I wasn't feeling good. We were still going back and forth to the doctors, who were telling me nothing was wrong, even though I was steadily losing weight. And all my friends came over, which was a regular occurrence for us. Like, I had to spend the night house because I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. But that's a different story. For this story, they were all there for my birthday. I think I pretty much, we hung out. We, had our girl talks. But I wasn't myself. I was pretty much laying down the whole time. I remember, like, after everybody went to sleep, I remember just being up in pain and just crying. Like, I remember, like, silently crying. I don't even think my friends know that. But, like, at some point, I had got up. I think I might have went to the bathroom, and then I ended up sleeping at the foot of my parents' bed, which that, like, was a thing that I had started because I didn't want my siblings to wake up one day and me be not alive. I just felt like that would be really traumatic for them. So that was like, I don't know. I don't know why I thought like my parents finding me would be any better, but it was almost like if I slept at the bottom of their bed, if something happened, they could save me versus my sister and them finding me. I was 17, y'all. I don't know. Makes no sense. I was 17 and sick. My mom, that Sunday evening, she took everybody who needed a ride home. She took them home. And while she was gone, I had decided, okay, I'm going to take a bath. And while I was in the tub, my mom, my friends, and I think my youngest sister, or one of my sisters, had left with my mom, and then my dad was home, and the other sister, I can't remember which one had went, and my granny was in town. So I'm thinking maybe my middle sister and my granny was in the basement. My dad was in the living room on the couch asleep. So I went to take a bath, and the water pressure of the tub, I remember sitting in the tub, and the water pressure on my stomach was making me feel like my stomach was going to cave in. Like I felt like I couldn't move. I felt like I was stuck. And like, that's a scary feeling, to feel like you're stuck in a bathtub. So I started calling for my dad. And this is the one time, like, I'm a person who, like, especially back then, I took my cell phone with me everywhere. And this is the one time I didn't have my cell phone with me. But again, like, our bathroom wall was, we shared a wall with our family room. So I'm like calling for my dad, but of course he's in dad coma, so he didn't hear me. Calling for my sister, of course she's in the basement, because at that point I didn't care that I was naked. I didn't care, like, somebody needs to get me out the tub. So once I figured out, like, okay, this, like, the water pressure was literally like pushing on my stomach, like almost to the point where I feel like I almost couldn't breathe. And I'm also a person who, I love and adore taking a bath. Like, that's my relaxation. That makes me feel better. That's my me time. So for that to turn around, and I was panicking. I had to, like, move my legs to pull the stopper off so that the water would go down to the point where it wasn't crushing me anymore. So I was able to do that. I ended up crawling out of the tub, just grabbing my towel, and then I remember just laying on the bed for like ever. Eventually I remember my dad calling me downstairs. Him and my mom wanted me to try to eat some toast and drink some tea, I think. And I'm trying to explain to them, like, maybe we can get this tea down, but me and this bread, this hard toast, is not finna happen. And it was just like, I was crying, I think they were crying, like, it was a mess. My grandmother is a nurse, and my aunts both worked in the medical field too at some point. So my mom's on the phone with them, and like, they're having like a conference call at that point. And my mom is telling everybody like what's going on. I think like by the time, like, she was scared, so I think she called in reinforcements. And they told her to take me to our local kids emergency room. And I'm like, I don't want to go. But I also knew I didn't feel good. So we get to the emergency room, and I remember they told me to get on the scale. Got on the scale, and it said I was 86 pounds. Mind you, I am 17 years old, and before I got sick, I was like 107 pounds, between 107 and like 110. So yeah, like I really felt sometimes like that number always stuck with me, like 86 pounds. And I remember them running all of these tests, drawing blood, um, me just trying to explain to everybody like what's going on. Like I'm in pain. My whole body was hurting at that point. Like I was in like a whole like crisis mode. I was dehydrated. I had lost so much blood from just constantly having to go to the bathroom. And then like mentally I was so drained. I was so tired. Being sick is so tiring. And I remember the nurse came in to like put an IV in to give me like fluids and stuff because I was so dehydrated. And I remember my dad telling her, before you poke her, tell her happy birthday. It was after midnight, so it was my birthday. And like I remember feeling like this is some nonsense. This is some bull. And like it's all kind of fuzzy now. I think I blocked a lot of it out. But I remember like being put into this room because I remember being across the hall in a room and then somehow I ended up on the other side. And I remember like dozing off. It was just me and my mom. And this little lady came in, white coat. She was a doctor. And I remember she looked at me, introduced herself, looked down at my chart, looked at me again, looked at my mom, and was like, I know what's wrong with her. And we're like, okay. And she was like, okay, so I have to run more tests, but I'm almost positive I know what's wrong with her. I'm gonna have her admitted tonight. That lady was the head of the GI department, of the pediatric GI department. What are the odds that she was on duty that night? And so I get admitted, and I'm in the hospital feeling feelings, and but trying to be whatever I thought strong was. And I remember night number 1, you know, I had to get a colonoscopy, so I had to do the prep, which was just a lot. Like me getting up, going back and forth to the bathroom, just a lot. And then the time comes for me to get the colonoscopy, and I'm in the bathroom, like might have been like changing clothes or something, and I had got like tangled up in like the IV or something. So I called my mom, and she comes in and helped me, and I just like broke completely down. I was so scared. Like, yo, what if I don't wake up? Because it was like, on one hand, I'm like, please knock me out, but what if I don't wake up? I'm aware of the fact that I'm sick. So I'm crying, she's crying, my dad's crying, everybody else in the room is crying. And then they come in and tell us, we can't do it today. Her blood count is too low, so I end up having to get a blood transfusion that day. So it gets pushed to the next day. Have my colonoscopy, and of course it comes back that I have Crohn's disease. What is that? Nobody in my family had that. I had never heard of that. So, what is that? So I'm like, okay, cool. How do we get rid of it? And she's like, well, it's incurable. You'll just have to manage it for the rest of your life with medicine. I was stuck at the it's incurable part. Because, mind you, I'm 17. The rest of my life is a long way ahead. And I just was like, oh, well, okay. Like, I mean, I didn't know what the reaction that I should have had. And even to this day, I don't know what the proper reaction like should have been at that moment. So I stand by my okay. My mom had them print out paperwork because this was like before we all had like internet on our phones. But paperwork of everything, like what it is, how it's treated, what medicines that I would be on, just so that as a family we could know what the heck is going on. And I spent about a month. I was admitted the night before my birthday, and I went home on December 13th. And in that time span, just I was a lot happened. I was traumatized most of the time. A lot of you can go home, but no, you can't go home. A lot of tests, a lot of like feeling alone and really isolated. A lot of me making up what exactly me being strong had to look like at that point in time. And I think that it wasn't. If I could go back, I wouldn't have tried to be strong. It's not a normal situation. So therefore I shouldn't have had to force that on myself. It just was a lot. I spent Thanksgiving in the hospital. My dad had came and like redecorated like my whole little hospital room. He brought a radio. I had like a VCR or something. I had so much stuff in that room. Like there was so much stuff. People were like making me blankets, and it is important to add that I was admitted to the cancer floor. So I was on the floor with all the cancer kids. So that was like a really humbling thing for me, because I felt like if these kids aren't complaining, and they don't have hair, some of them are here by themselves because of course their parents have to work too. Like I can put on my big girl drawers and I can be okay. But there came nights, like when my family was there, that when they all got up to leave, like that would be really hard for me because I wanted to go home and I had been there a long time. I am not gonna cry. Not in video number 2. Just the amount of tests. I remember having to call my mom in the middle of the night because I was just so over getting my blood drawn. Like my arms were like green because I was just over it. Like I had started to sleep with the covers over me. like with my arms inside, because I just was, please stop. Like, I just needed a break. My first couple days in the hospital, I remember my best friend coming to see me, and because I was on the cancer floor, she couldn't bring like latex balloons and some other stuff. And the day she was coming, they were like putting the tube, you know, up your nose, and you know you have to like swallow it so it goes down. So the day she came, I was like in the middle of that. So I'm crying, trying to get it down, and like it was a lot happening. It was a lot. And then I look over at the door, and I saw her, and I told my mom, like, hey, there she is. So my mom goes over to the door, and she's like, basically told her, like, you gotta pull it together. You can't come in here like that. Like, y'all both can't be falling apart. But I will say, like, throughout this whole process, she's been really supportive from the very beginning. I guess this is like a cautionary tale. Like, I didn't think that I would even make it to diagnosis some days. Some days I wanted to die. Some days I just was like, nobody. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean I'm anorexic? If you don't know, just say that. But like, my life forever changed on November 18th. Forever. Every dream I thought I would have, every goal I thought I would accomplish. Yes, I may still accomplish them, but the steps to get there, I have to take the long road. But, you know, I had to pivot, you know. That's what we do. And back then, there was hardly any, like, I remember calling my parents because I saw a commercial for one of the medicines on TV. That was all I had. We didn't really have any, like, there was no social media, so it wasn't like I could just look up and find other people who were like me. There was nobody, and I had to figure it out on my own. So that's the end. That's how we got diagnosed. It was traumatic. I'm still recovering. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. Let's have a conversation. Again, follow me on Instagram at thecronymommy. Follow me on my blog page at thecronymommy.com. On Twitter at thecronymommy. Like, comment, and subscribe. And again, let me know, well, like, what questions you have. Maybe we could do a video on it. Maybe we could do a Q&A. So, bye.